Okay, so do you want to tell me a little bit about yourself?
Hi, my name is Gerry Ellis. I'm from Dublin in Ireland. In my 50s, I'm married, I have two teenage kids, two wonderful boys. From my sight point of view, I was born with very poor vision and went to a school for the blind, but I had enough vision with very strong magnification to do my state exams through normal print. But at the age of 18, at the age of 28, I lost both my eyes completely through detached retinas and eventually had to have both eyes removed. So I now have complete prostheses instead of my eyes. So I'm totally blind.
In terms of your educational background, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you studied and where you studied it?
Okay, as I said, I did my state examinations in a school for the blind in Drumcondra here in Dublin. That was a boarding school dedicated specifically to blind boys. And later on in my life, I went to University College Dublin, which is the biggest university in Dublin, and I did a degree in economics and psychology. My timing was actually quite bad there because I applied to go to the college in February to start studying in October and went totally blind in June, but carried on and did the course anyway.
Okay. Gerry, do you want to tell me a little bit about your current position and how maybe you secured that position?
Okay, way back in 1980, another gentleman from Dublin and myself were the first two people from Ireland to be chosen to attend a computer programming course run by the Royal National Institute for the Blind in London. So the two of us tootled over to London and we did a 3-month course in computer programming using a programming language called COBOL. And we came back and we subsequently got jobs in the two largest banks in Ireland. We thought that we were great, but behind all that, and tremendous support was given in getting us onto that course, getting us interviews, and getting us into a position where we could apply for jobs by the national organisation, at the time called the National Rehabilitation Board, but now called the National Disability Authority. So we did some of the work, but we were greatly helped at that stage, and the employers were greatly helped at that stage by the authority.
Okay. Just in terms of the help that you might have received there, just to follow up, can you remember, did you receive any technical aids or any financial assistance at the time?
What we got mostly was advice, and what our employer got was mostly advice. And our employer was advised to buy what we would now call JAWS for Windows, JFW. At the time we were using DOS, would you believe? But it's now JAWS for Windows. So we both used JAWS for Windows, and we've both used small other bits of technology since then. For instance, I would now use an iPhone 6 for communicating and that sort of stuff. But primarily the help was in the area of helping us to understand the role, helping them to say, well, is this going to run smoothly to integrate these people into your organisation?
Okay. And Gerry, tell me this, because you're there such a long time, has your job evolved over the years?
Okay, that's probably the most important question as far as I'm concerned in this video. Because I started as a computer programmer doing a very specific job in a very specific way. When I went and joined my organisation, the bank in Dublin, they had a slightly different way of doing things. So I had to learn the way that they did it. And then I learned that there were other skills involved that a software engineer has to do. So I had to learn how to do other things. And then I began to expand my role into not just doing coding, programming. I started doing the work of going out and asking the business, what are the functions that you want this piece of technology to fulfill? And then to learn how do you convert that into technical requirements, and then how to code those things according to my bank's standards. And then I had to learn new programming languages as I went along. Then I had to learn how do you test these systems. And then eventually, once those systems went live, I was supporting them. So I'd get a call at 3 o'clock in the morning, say there's a problem and you have to fix it and have it all sorted out in time for the branches to open in the morning, or the bank has a problem. And even more recently than that, in the last 2 or 3 years, I've moved on again, where now I'm a kind of an internal consultant within the bank. So what we do is we look at what sort of efficiencies can we apply to what we're already doing. We're looking at new technologies to see how can we apply those new technologies to what we're doing. And I've been given a position only in the last couple of months where I am now vetting other people's work to see that their work is according to our standards and is according to our efficiency requirements. So the important point is, if you take a role, you stick with it, then you'll be stuck with it. You have to continually learn as you go right through your career.
That's some really good advice, Gerry. Can I ask you, and also along the same lines of advice, what advice would you give to an employer or business owner who is considering hiring someone with sight loss?
I'd say a couple of things to an employer who's considering employing a person with a disability in general. One, you think it's going to cost you. It won't. There's been plenty of research to say that it costs very little, and most accommodations cost nothing. Secondly, you'll find that once you have a person with a disability employed, that they tend to be more, stay with you longer. So if a person you train up leaves, it costs you money to go out and recruit somebody new and train them up. People with disability tends to stay with the job longer. The advice that I would primarily give to an employer is don't be afraid. Go out and find out what is required. You'll be surprised how little it is, and you'll be surprised how good employees people with disabilities, like anyone else in society, can make.
Gerry, what advice would you give to another individual with vision loss who is considering employment in your career field?
Okay, I can give you the stock answers, the same as you'd give to anyone in society. Prepare well for an interview, make sure your CV is good, and all of the normal stuff that everyone does. But there's some extra stuff that you got to do, and that's to find out about what technology is available, how do you use that technology, how do you get training in technology. And earlier on in this video I was talking about, you don't just get your foot in the door and stop then. The onus is on you to find out what else is out there. The onus is on you to train yourself up. The onus is on you to work with your employer to make sure that the two of you gain the maximum benefit. Okay.
Lastly, Gerry, I want to ask you, because I am aware that you do a lot of work externally. Do you want to briefly tell the viewers a little bit about what you've done externally, or what you are still doing?
Okay, my bank job is 9 to 5, that's what pays my mortgage. On a voluntary basis for the last 30 years or so, I've been involved with organisations of people with disabilities nationally, at a European level, and more recently at a world level. So I've been chair of the National Organisation of People with Disabilities. I'm involved with the European Disability Forum, which represents 80 million people with disabilities, and I'm on their ICT expert group. So we would talk with the European Commission to try and influence, for instance, the recent European Disability Act, which has gone through the European Parliament. More laterally, I've been involved with world bodies like introducing standards in the International Standards Organisation, and we're currently working with ITU, which is the UN body which is concerned with telecommunications and technology, and we're implementing their standards. So although a person with a disability individually in their own company and in their own country can make a difference, we also need the standards available and enforced to ensure that industry will take on board our needs. We need interoperability between our needs and what they provide.
Okay. Gerry Ellis, thanks for your time today.